Shrieks and bellows of triumph filled the air, shaking the stadium seats in collective excitement. Connor was rocked to life, the energy thrown onto him like ice water. He almost forgot to stand and raise his hands like every other maniacal fan around him. Arms and bodies obscured the football field, and Connor fought to see through the sea of people. Before he got a clear idea of what happened, hands grabbed him on either shoulder and shook him until his vision blurred. The crowd turned into a colorful paste. "Did you just see that? That's my bro! He scored a touchdown!" The voice, nothing under a shout, rattled his eardrums. Connor shoved his aggressor off, putting his friend Ken back in his seat. "Cool it, man. I'm trying to watch the game." He tore his gaze over the tops of the crowd's heads, trying to see the football field, or rather, the sidelines. His heart thudded. Did he lose her? She couldn't have disappeared that fast. Most people had returned to their seats, his line of sight now clearer, but even then, he caught no glimpse of that golden blonde hair. "Oh, shut up. You're not even paying attention," said Ken. Connor busied himself with peeking between people's shoulders, scanning the line of cheerleaders lined up next to the field, cheering for the football team. Ken's iron grasp squeezed Connor's biceps. He looked up to see Ken, whose furious expression looked as if Connor had totaled his car. "Are you still stuck on Cassie? Listen, if you like her, why don't you just talk to her?" Connor's heart shot into his throat at the accusation. Was it that obvious? "I do," he fumbled, trying to recall the last time he and Cassie had talked. "We talk every day during computer science." Ken did not seem impressed. "What about?" "Homework?" Connor dropped eye contact. He could already feel the ridicule coming for him like a high-speed freight train. "That's not... You know what I mean by talking to her, right? Invite her to something. Get to know her. Like, actually get to know her. Don't just stare at her from the sidelines like a creep." The word creep dug into Connor's chest like a knife. Well, that's exactly what he was, wasn't it? He felt like a creep, and the word did seem to describe his actions. At 18, he shouldn't be afraid to talk to a girl. Well, this was Cassie. What if he wrecked the whole thing? Worse, what if he did something stupid? She shot him down and he never had the chance to talk with Cassie again. "You should have learned something after Lauren." "Oh, like you're one to talk," scoffed Connor. He'd heard enough from Ken on the Lauren subject. That was a crush Ken never let him live down. That one didn't end well. He tried to talk to her. She'd looked at him like he was a mangy dog, laughed at him with her friends, and never spoke to him again. At least he tried. "How many people have you dated?" Ken shrugged, palms open and empty. "Can't date till I'm a doctor. Asian parents, am I right?" "Yeah, totally." Connor scowled at his friend. "My aunt keeps sending me different girls' numbers because she wants me to date an Indonesian." "Maybe you should take her up on that offer. Easier than stalking Cassie, I bet." Ken's face split into a grin. Connor stuffed his elbow in Ken's gut, which Ken wrestled off. "Come on, Connor, lighten up. Just talk to her after the game. She knows who you are. Maybe we can all get ice cream or something." After the game? Connor's chest tightened. His gaze flicked to the timer under the scoreboard. He searched the sidelines, where tassels on the pom-poms of the cheerleaders glistened under the stadium lights. A glimpse of that golden hair sparkled over the tops of the nameless heads separating them. There, that was her. Cassie's golden locks of hair rolled over her smooth shoulders. He wanted to touch them. He wondered what kind of shampoo she used, what it smelled like. Watermelon? Honey? Some exotic flower? The women's selection of shampoo available at the store could make a guy's head spin. Worse, when she smiled, all words fell out of his brain. Just thinking about going up to her, in the middle of her friends, to ask her out for ice cream made his stomach wilt. "Maybe we should do that tomorrow?" Tension rippled through the crowd. The loud honks of the countdown buzzer overwhelmed the chatter of the crowd. Heat and sweat permeated the air, swirling above everyone's head. The same tension racked through Connor, but for a very different reason. Ken's look of disapproval pierced the veil, pinning Connor into his seat. "Just do it. All I ever hear out of you is a bunch of moaning about Cassie. Let's get out of the way." The horn blared. The crowd roared. Everyone shot up in their seats, making the steel beneath Connor tremble. He and Ken stayed put, the only two not flailing their arms in victory. Anxiety clawed up his throat and into his sinuses, freezing his limbs in place. The game went through its final throes, the scoreboard blinking the winner, the low-quality speakers buzzing loudly over the sounds of the rowdy crowd. Already a few people had gotten up to leave, satisfied with the game's conclusion. And later, if he waited, the only people still around would be those waiting for players to come out of their locker rooms. Parents, friends, love interests. Hey, we won, grinned, jabbing his thumb at the scoreboard. The Jade Goldfish worked. Told you it would. Connor shot him a withering look. Ken put way too much weight into these superstitions. Yeah, I'm sure your brother didn't have to trade his ass off to make all those plays. It was the goldfish that helped win the game. Hey, a little luck goes a long way. You gotta thank me. The players split away from the field, heading toward the locker rooms. The rest of the crowd roused, preparing to leave, picking up blankets, drinks, and cardboard containers full of half-eaten nachos. Most people left their trash on the ground. Yeah, maybe I need a little luck myself. Connor watched the players. Now he didn't even want to find Cassie. Maybe he just pretended he couldn't find her after the game. A hearty shove unlocked Connor's limbs from their place. Come on, let's get this over with. Ken sounded genuine, though not hopeful. Connor swallowed his nerves. You're really giving me the confidence I need for this. Connor rose from his seat, turned, and tripped over Ken's massive backpack. He barely caught himself, and his shin slammed into the metal bleacher below them. Do you have to bring this thing everywhere? You'll thank me when it saves our lives one day. Ken's backpack didn't budge. It had to weigh 50 pounds, and probably the only backpack anyone had brought to the game, stuffed with twice what it should be able to hold. It was his worst habit. There was nowhere on the planet he wouldn't go with that backpack. Connor was pretty sure it didn't even contain a single textbook. Steady on his feet, Connor searched the sidelines, where the conglomerate of cheerleaders melted into the crowd. Like a tether pulled him, he headed toward them. Was he doing this because Ken basically dared him, or did he want to talk to her? A wreath of golden hair, as bright as the stage lights themselves, glimmered in the crowd. Connor couldn't decipher the wave of emotions mingling in his chest, the fear and the desire, the excitement and the anxiety. He just kept moving his legs. Cassie separated from the throng, appearing on the edge of the field next to the parking lot. Who did Cassie hang out with at school? They were probably popular, or studious, and often hung out in the teachers' rooms at a lunch and after school. To his surprise, she stood talking to someone who looked opposite of that concept. Someone dressed in all black, wearing a choker necklace with spikes that would have looked less out of place on a dog. The strange girl wore a spiderweb lace-covered shirt and a short, tight, black leather miniskirt with knee-high black boots. Combined with all the black mascara, Cassie's friend looked completely out of place, the space otherwise full of jocks and fans, like a spider speaking to a swan. Who's that? Connor nudged Ken, who paid more attention to just about everything. Ken always knew things about people Connor did not. Her? Ken indicated the girl wearing all black. She's, some goth guy I see at school sometimes. I think I have history class with her. She's always on her phone. Huh. Not helpful. Connor moved on to his next question. What is she doing with Cassie? They were night and day, as if they were two characters walking straight out of the Breakfast Club. Connor had nothing against this girl, but it seemed a little strange to him that Cassie would hang around someone like her rather than with someone normal. I mean, haven't you noticed that Cassie always looks like she should be part of the honors crowd, but never actually spends time with them? Connor digested that information. Cassie never hung around the high achievers despite fitting that bill. She worked hard at what she did. Cassie was top of the class, and she was way out of Connor's league. He stopped 10 feet away from Cassie and her friend. His heart jumped. His blood froze up. And so did the rest of him. What if he messed up? What if he destroyed any chance, at all, like ever, of Cassie dating him? Ken pushed him, nudging Connor's reluctant body forward. What are you doing? You're already this close. Hey, Cassie! A loud, booming voice called out from the football field. She turned to find who called her name. Connor did the same. A call from a player on the team, the senior. He'd thrown a football to Cassie, the hard leather in a perfect spiral as it flew like an arrow toward her head. Yeah? She lifted a hand to block the glare from the lights on the field. She didn't step aside. She didn't see the ball. Goth Girl was zero help, busy staring at her phone, skillfully swiping through posts. Connor took off at a dead run, his feet moving faster than he could ever remember moving. He had the angle. He He just had to make it in time. "Watch out," he yelled, the warning as he jumped. A sharp sting exploded on his palm as he slapped the hard leather ball to the ground. That idiot could have given Cassie a concussion. Connor landed on his feet. Minor miracle number 2. Ken's shout snapped Connor out of panic mode. "Nice save." "Thanks." Connor glared at the boy who had thrown the ball. Will something or other, popular, tall, flunking out of calculus and counting on a football scholarship to get into college. That would have hit her in the head. "Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Cass. I didn't mean to." Will glanced from Cassie to Connor. Spider-Girl glared at Will, her eyes full of even more venom than she shot at Ken. "She trying to give her a concussion?" "No, why, get lost, Shock Boy. She doesn't like you anyway." "Yana!" Cassie protested her friend's harsh words and reached a hand toward Will. "I'm sorry. It's okay. Really, no big deal." He looked at Connor, who stood squarely between him and Cassie, blocking Will's path. No big deal. Wrong. Worse, this jock was trying to flirt with Cassie. Connor knew his type. Will had a reputation for hooking up with a new girl at school every couple weeks. "Never mind. Sorry, Cass. I'll see you in class." "Okay." Cassie watched Will scoop up the wayward football and jog away. The moment gave Connor a sense of invisibility. "Connor, is that really you? Never knew you were so fast." Panic exploded out of every nerve in his body. Putting on the best grin he could muster, he faced Cassie and pretended he was not going through a complete mental breakdown. He ordered his breathing to return to normal. No big deal. Except it was. She was talking to him. "Thanks. I didn't even see the ball coming toward me. That would have really hurt," Cassie said while Yana rolled her eyes and returned to her phone. "No problem." Connor stepped closer. "Just stay calm," he told himself. "Act like we're talking in computer class. No big deal." His stomach fluttered, even though he was still several feet away from her. She smiled at him, a brilliant ray of perfect teeth. "I didn't know you were here. How'd you like the game?" "It was great." Connor's word came out a little more breathless than he had hoped. "Last game of the season, right?" Honestly, he hadn't been paying attention. In fact, he'd paid a lot less attention to the game than he cared to admit. "Yeah." Cassie gestured toward the still full bleachers. "We finished out strong. They'll be quaking when they hear us in state." "Yes," Ken whispered beside him. Connor caught the triumphant fist Ken shoved in Cassie's direction. "My brother's on offense. Did you see him? You can bet I'm going to those games. Connor will be there too." Ken nudged Connor with his painfully sharp elbow. Connor's face flushed hot at the implications of seeing Cassie at every game. "Yeah, it'll be pretty exciting to make it into the state playoffs for once." Cassie's gaze found Connor's, locking him in place. "I hope you guys can make it to the games." Connor swallowed. He took a deep breath to bring down his soaring heart rate. "Of course we will. I was actually wondering if, Connor's thoughts stumbled over one another. Out to ice cream? It sounded so stupid. How do you even ask someone out, totally out of the blue? "Are you busy tonight?" he finished. That question opened up a lot of different answers. Answers that could hopefully turn into something productive, and not stupid sounding. Cassie, however, perked up. "Actually, yes, but you're more than welcome to join us." Connor's heart skipped a beat. Had she invited him to something? With her? Against all the odds, he'd received something other than the disgust he expected. The girl standing next to Cassie pretended to retch. "Seriously? You're inviting these two?" Ah, there was the disgust he expected. Cassie's shoulders dropped as she gave Yana a look. "Oh, come on, Yana. You're always like this. Can't I invite anyone to our concerts? Maybe if you invited normal people once in a while." Connor ignored the sting in that remark. Normal? That was rich coming from a Spider-Girl. Ken, however, didn't back down. "You're one to talk." She reeled on Ken, the disgust in her eyes cut sharper than knives. "Shut it. I can smell garlic coming off you, freak." The accusation turned Ken's face bright red. "You..." But Connor intervened before Ken could get any further. He physically put himself between Ken and Yana, assuming he'd heard the black-haired girl's name correctly. The tension between the two of them crackled around them, like it passed right through his tender flesh. "Where are you guys going?" Cassie picked up on his method, fast, because she answered quickly so neither Yana nor Ken had a chance to talk. There's a concert. It's over at the New Salem Theater on Aspen Street. They have a lot of metal gigs. You're welcome to come with, if you think you can handle it. She raised her eyebrows, as if laying out a challenge. Relief washed over Connor. They shared something in common. He loved metal bands. Handle it. Piece of cake. Who's playing? Ken's response, however, sounded drastically different. New Salem? Did I hear that right? Ken pulled Connor aside and stepped between them. You can't be serious. That place is dangerous. Yana threw her a poisonous, black mascaraed look down her nose in Ken's direction. Yeah, you're right. Dangerous to whiny nerds like you. She bared her teeth at him. Ken flinched. Yana, Cassie berated, her tone pressing. Would you leave him alone? Yana dropped her snarled lips, returning to the dull, unimpressed look her makeup seemed to punctuate. I don't want to go anywhere with them. Tonight, at the football stadium, was enough. Cassie lowered her voice. But you promised. Whatever conversation they had, however, went right over Connor's head. Instead, Ken pulled him away, diverting his focus from the girls. We can't go. He sounded like he meant it. Irritation fired up like live electric shocks inside Connor's veins. What? Why? After all the hubbub Ken went through to make him talk to Cassie, now he said no? New Salem is a hotspot for criminal activity. Haven't you seen the news? There's like a new murder investigation every week. Ken's eyes were wide and dilated. His breaths were fast and forceful. What if a serial killer uses that place to scout out his victims? That was absurd. If Cassie liked to go, the place couldn't be that bad. You're overreacting. It's just a concert. I think I've been to New Salem. It's a smaller venue. I've been to 100 places just like it, and I came out fine. Haven't you seen the crowd that goes to New Salem? They're a bunch of skinheads and, like, gangsters and stuff. Obviously, Ken had no idea what he was talking about. Cassie would not hang out with gangsters and skinheads. No way. A friend who liked a lot of makeup and goth clothes didn't mean Cassie's social group was a bunch of criminals and killers. Have you ever been to a concert? No one is going to murder us. Ken sighed, sorting out the dozens of words tumbling through his head. Frustrated, he settled on an ultimatum. Look, if you don't want to go, you don't have to. I'm not forcing you. But I'm not walking away from this chance to go with Cassie. Ken looked like he had more to say. Connor brushed him aside to chat with Cassie. That sounds like fun. When do they start? Cassie and Yana looked like they had just finished a serious conversation of their own. Yana didn't look at all pleased. She buried her head in her phone while Cassie answered. They're on in an hour. If we hurry, we'll be able to catch their opening act. Sweet. Thrills ran up Connor's spine. A night out with Cassie? A dream come true. Well, I have to get changed. We'll meet you there. Cassie traded a smile with him that Yana's scowling face, clearly visible behind Cassie, attempted to undercut. Connor watched Cassie walk away, her soft hair swaying on her shoulders. He would have stood there for hours if not for the punch to the shoulder. Looking down, Connor watched as Ken rummaged through his backpack, catching sight of the garlic necklace, some granola bars, and a water bottle. What's with all the stuff? Every time I see you, you've got more stuff crammed into that backpack. Stop staring and let's go. Ken zipped his backpack closed and swung the oversized monstrosity up over his shoulders. Without another word, Ken walked toward Connor's car. Connor stared after him in surprise. You're coming? I have to. Ken's voice went low as Connor rushed to join him. No way you're going to a place like that without me. Connor rolled his eyes. Ken could be so melodramatic. It won't be that bad. You'll come out of it and wonder why you freaked out in the first place. He unlocked his car and got in. We'll see. Ken's gaze shifted around like a nervous, wild animal's before he followed suit. Ken did that a lot. Looked around like there was a monster or a demon hiding in every shadow, waiting to attack.